I'm declaring my independence. Independence from what? Why, negative thoughts and energy, of course. Chief among them, hate, division, and fear. You see, I know that we're all one, and together we can solve any problem, save our planet and each other. Please, join me as we come together as one and choose a better way to be. So now, let's begin with my independence report. And welcome to my Independence Report, which is actually kind of a fun thing we're doing today. And if you haven't noticed, we are all three. Of course, we did this before. We are all live, but now we're live on YouTube, and we are broadcasting around the world. So if you know anybody that would like to be part of our little shindig here, you can have them go onto YouTube, and they can find us, and we can have a good time. I'd like to introduce, however, because this is what we call Life Between Lives. This is the third in the series, and I'd like to introduce Natasha Benter. She is a Natasha is a psychic medium. She also works with angels, and she's very, very familiar with the other side in a spiritual level. And she talks to them on a regular basis, and she's with us today, and we're going to talk with her about what goes on the other side. And we have a gentleman by the name of Regen Forsten, and he is with us, and he is a oh, that's fun. He is a hypnotherapist, and he worked with Michael Newton. If you're not unfamiliar with who Michael Newton is, he is a master hypnotherapist who could take people very, very deep into hypnosis, and Regan's going to talk about that. Take them very deep into hypnosis so that they could remember what the hell they were doing in between lives and stuff. And that's what so welcome, the two of you. How are you?
We're fine.
Doing good.
Well, awesome. So does anybody remember where we left off last time?
Whew. That was a week ago.
I know. Lots of happening.
Worlds went by, I think.
I think we were talking about who's there to meet you when you leave the physical body.
Yes,
and
we did that.
Yeah, and I guess we could recap a little bit, basically, right?
You're up, sir.
Well, from what I remember, we were talking about is usually when a certain person passes over, nobody ever dies alone. There's always somebody there to help them. So nobody ever has to worry about, well, you're going to be all alone and lost or something. There's like a welcoming committee of some sort or another. Sometimes it could be what people see as an angel or a guide, or it could be a loved one that's already passed over that, like your mom or dad, if they're already there. But it's always a welcoming committee to kind of take you through the passage between this place and where you go, where you spend your time before you decide to come back in another body. So not to worry. And we've had, like I say, in these series, you're going to hear me mention 50,000. Well, that's just what we're up to so far at the Newton Institute, with people that have gone to a past life, see themselves pass away, turn around, and then we have them take us where they were taken, from that life into, I guess people call heaven or something. So, and that's what this whole thing's about, is letting people know that the wall has become much thinner between the other side and here, and the other side is being able to speak to us more now than ever. About 80% of people that I take through this technique, which is very simple, are able to just go to the other side, go to a past life. So we're in a great age right now, but we still have to wake up to it, because us three, of course, we woke up to it, and there's thousands of others that have. I'm surprised how many people have, but there's still a lot of people out there. When you talk about this, or anybody listening right now and you're hearing this for the first time, or just happen to get this at random, you're probably going, what's going on here? This is crazy, but it's not. It's a real phenomena, and it's a beautiful thing. So
now
anyway.
That is just awesome. So, so let me ask the two of you, what do they call heaven over there?
I can't really say that, because I just tuned in real quick to ask. There was kind of there's not really a word for it. I just know that it just represents love. It's a space and time where spirits go, where it's just love, compassion, understanding. It's just a, but I understand too that dimension, space and time, it's literally like if I reach out, I'm probably reaching out into a different dimension. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not necessarily, up, down, in between. It's just a different like doorway that we go through, and it's a different format of what's going on. I always had the kid image, when I was growing up, of in the clouds. Well, it kind of is in the clouds, but the clouds could be here on Earth. It just depends on where, what, when. And I know that, like, dealing with my mom and my dad and family members who have passed, animals, that, sometimes my dog that passed away 30, when did Allie pass away? 20 years ago, she still lays on the, in the kitchen where she used to always lay, so it's not like they, spirits go to this another world. It's kind of just another space. It's just like, seeing things out of the corner of our eyes. It's just that other space, and it's just love, compassion, wisdom, journey, just like we have here on Earth. It's a journey, but yet it's just compassionately done differently.
Yeah, maybe one way to look at it a little bit. I mean, some people use the analogy of radio, or TV stations. They're all here simultaneously, but you have to tune into that channel to pick up that frequency. So all heaven is just a different frequency that when we, if we're the,
But yet it's
figure like the machine, like we have a dial in ourselves, and we just have to, we're learning how to dial to that frequency. And then as soon as you do, you're there, just like a television station. It's almost that simple.
yes.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
While you guys are talking, I'm trying to figure this out. So
Yeah.
So anyway, that is YouTube. Let's go.
See, this is a wonderful thing that Kevin's going to do for us is that, we're starting this new adventure, and being human, you have to live through the experience. And that's what being human is kind of about. And that's the difference between us and on the other side is that we have this physical body that we're going through, learning things. And you're seeing the three of us the first time going YouTube live, and Kevin breaking out of his normal self.
Anyway, well, it's interesting because and this is just as a footnote. There's nobody listening, but there's a footnote for this for next time, and that is that if you need to make sure that you're on Zoom and not on YouTube Live, because if you're on YouTube Live, it all gets all screwed up. So,
like I told you before, do not pay attention to the video. But you know what? I kind of apply that to life. Don't always notice what's in front of you, because you're going to get messed up if you're paying to the news and all that kind of stuff. You just kind of have to just kind of go to what you know is your reality and just keep moving forward sometimes to survive.
Oh, exactly. So when we talk about last time we talked about kind of the rough edges of what happens up there, and that you go in front of your council. And by the way, there are 2 other episodes. If you should probably review those, because we're not going to go over the same material over and over and over again. But you go see your council and stuff. But Regen, I want to take you to where we've seen our council, we've had our life review, and now we're going to go home. What's that?
Well, what's interesting is we've had cases, and Dolores Cannon has too in some of her research, where we put people get them in a deep state of trance, in a sense, which, like I say, almost everybody can do. And then we have them imagine themselves in a cloud, drifting along, and then we have them leave the cloud and tell them they're going to be at another place and time when they were somebody else, having a different experience as somebody else. And then we have them, look when they land, we have them look down at their feet just to see what they're wearing. Well, we've had some, then they go, I don't have any feet, and they realize they're just spirit, they're just energy, and and we end up finding that they didn't have a physical life, but they had a spirit, because your energy, you could be anything in the universe. So one of the ones was above the earth, actually. She didn't go down to earth, and she was looking at the earth when the earth was forming. And that lifetime she had was being part of the energy that was helping cool the earth. So you see, this mindset, when you get out of having this physical body and who we really are, and that's when people have this experience, they're so surprised. It makes this experience so real because they see their mother and father as not all the times, but they see them as energy, as light, but they know who they are. Because we're in that state. It's just like us looking at each other now. We see each other as real. On the other side, you see in the way the physics is over there, where we're just energy. So when you think about, if we're energy, we could be in, we could be in a tree, we could be in the wind, we could be anywhere where there's service to be done, for God or something, wherever he needs us. And sometimes that means taking bodily form, which we have decided apparently to do, because here we are, so it's a different mindset to put yourself into. And once you understand that we're energy, then all kinds of things don't seem so weird anymore,
Now, is there a place that we go? Do we sleep? Do we eat? Do we have a home where we've got soulmates and stuff like that that hang around with us?
I have an understanding that yes, on the soulmates. Yes, on the soul family, I'm going to call it. Not necessarily
soul family,
soulmates, but soul families that we just spend time with. Like my dad, mom, and I, and family members, we spent time together in many different lifetimes. And, I know my dad and I, we were like, I would call us soulmates in a way, because we've spent many lifetimes together. And so with that we have soul families that we commune with on the other side. Like my dad and my mom, they come back together, but my dad is busy doing his spirit work. He's one of the worker bees. I would call him an earth angel. When he spends time on this earth, he's more of an earth angel. And so when he's in spirit form, he's doing his earth angel walk, even in spirit. So with that we do spend time with those beings. And I want to kind of come back to what you were saying, Regan, about how we're not always spirit. I have had a past life and it was between this one and my one before, where I was like in World War II, World War I, and I was helping beings come off of, or get, if they were hurt, get them off of the trauma field, where the war was going on, and back into their pits. I'm lost for words right now, but I was an angel doing that.
Yeah.
Oh, so you were not a physical.
I have an understanding, ego set aside, that I'm an earth angel, and so with that I kind of walk this life even now, just spreading kindness, spreading love, spreading wisdom, spreading just that hope for tomorrow. And that's basically what people, when we're spending time in our spirit form, that's what the intention is, really, is how can we navigate through? And that's that next step behind the wisdom that we gained from what did we go through in this life. That life review, as we called it, they move into that next, like, this is who I am. They're either getting ready for their next life if they choose to step into that, or they're just kind of being, capital BEING, they're just being where they're at. There's not like a, sometimes there's jobs, like my dad, hey, can you go help, da, 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 there's kind of like different, I don't want to call them hierarchies because it's not better than, but just people who are kind of knowing that, oh, wait a minute, we need assistance over there. Can you go do that? Type of thing. So there's jobs, but there's not necessarily a put the rucksack on and walk through the job. It's more spirit realm. It's more, okay, this is the greater good that we're trying to pull.
Well, go ahead, Regan.
Well, in Michael's research too, he asked that when people are on the other side, and he says, well, what do you do, over there? And it was interesting to see that it's like there's probably an infinite amount of jobs you can have over there, because when you think that life is teeming all over all the universes in every aspect, not just Earth, they can go somewhere else. They can, and a lot of the souls up there never experience coming into an earthly body. In other words, they've chosen just to stay, and they've always been in that realm. Like when God created them, they just stayed in that part, and then some of them decide to incarnate here or in other places. But one of the things I found interesting was, and again, this is more mind-blowing stuff, and I want to tell people that are just listening to this, we're just trying to figure things out here, even the three of us right here. And we know a lot from the research and personal experience, but we're just being open to kind of what comes and how the pieces start filling in. But over there, like we have a spirit, we have a certain amount of creative ability that God gave us. So a lot of the souls over there, when Michael would say, well, where did you go? What kind of job did you do? And other things when you were spending your time in heaven. And some of them would say, well, we go and create, like they were learning how to create minerals. They were learning how to create things so other planets were being formed and things like this. And it was a matter of like trial and error. Some of these souls kind of goof up and like, oops, there's a dinosaur. How'd I do that? I mean, that's in my mind what was going on. It's like, there's a lot of trial and error going on with souls that are trying, just like people, a new job, and God has you go out there and then you get better and you get better and better at it, So they say, don't worry about what you're going to do in heaven. I mean, if you want to sit there and play a harp all day, you probably could do that, But most people want to get busy. They want to learn because we're all part of God. We're this love. We want to do things to help each other, so they usually pick a job that's going to do something, whether it's to prepare a planet for other souls to come into, or just to do something productive, something that comes from love, And then so far, the experience of asking people when they're over there, when we ask about God, they call God over there, a lot of them refer to God as the presence. And when we say, well, can we go talk to God or something? And they go, well, God's above even this where we're at. I mean, it's like people can talk to Jesus or Buddha, you can talk to different people over there. And people have an audience with Jesus or something like that. But as far as God, the oversoul or the whatever, they just say he's still beyond here, So that's how expansive God is, and how I think it's incomprehensible to the human mind.
Well, if you guys don't mind, I'd like to give you an analogy. It's called my pumpkin pie. Are you ready?
Okay.
Okay, there's these three souls that are up in heaven, and they're talking to each other. And two of them said, or one said to the other, my favorite holiday was Thanksgiving. And he goes, why? Do you like the dressing or the man? No, it's the pumpkin pie. I love pumpkin pie. And those two guys had been on Earth, and they had both experienced Thanksgiving. The third one had never been to Earth or had never experienced Thanksgiving or pumpkin pie. And he said, well, what's it like? And the other two guys, you can't describe it. I mean, I can feel it and I can sense it, and I had it and I experienced it, but you can't describe what it tastes like and how it affects in your taste buds and everything. I can't describe it for you. And he said, well, that's a shame. I would really like to have that experience. So he decided that he was going to come back to Earth, and he picked a place that had Thanksgiving, and he enjoyed pumpkin pie. And then shortly thereafter, he was back in heaven with his other two buddies, and they all three said, well, let's have pumpkin pie because we now all know what it tastes like.
Yeah.
Because they needed that experience. Am I high? I haven't had anything. I'm in Washington, and it's legal, but I haven't had anything. So am I high or what?
No, but I'm hungry for pumpkin pie now. Yeah, and I think that's a good analogy, because what Dolores Cannon does in her works too is, from what she's found out from the thousands and thousands of cases and stuff, is that, you know, you have to think of everything as infinite. In other words, and all this, our lives and everything like this, we've always been, we always will be, and we continually are gaining experience of some sort or another. You know, like we just have to almost experience every molecule of existence in a sense, you know. So, you know, we still are, you know, we're little-minded people, really. You know, we look at things as everything is right here, when really it's all over the place, you know. So that's why I think even in this work that the three of us are doing, we're going to be continually having our minds blown, like, whew, you know, because it just goes deeper and deeper and more. But the good thing is it's all, like Natasha said, it's just all love. You know, it's just all about being a coworker, about love. So we pretty much just need to concentrate on the life that we have now, of being the most loving person, the most kind, the most giving person we could be. And you don't even have to even worry about the rest. That'll all take care of itself. So just got to concentrate on, you know, being a good person. And as a result of that, just watch what happens with your life and the world. You know, everybody did that. So.
What do you think, Natasha?
I think that is pretty right on. You know, that that's why we're here on this earth, is for experiences and getting a perception about something maybe, but yet at the same time, it's that getting clearer and you know, and I'm going to speak boldly here, that I have an understanding that I kind of remember that witnessing of myself, of being plucked from light to become my own light, and the presence of what some of us choose to call God, but that's just a name of humanness, but basically just love. That presence is love, from my understanding, and just having that be, and then how I grew with each lifetime to be the soul that I am, which is basically in this human form right now. And, you know, it's just part of that dance. And I always kind of had a picture, you know, people always kind of picture their soul being shoved into this body. And I'm like going, that don't quite work. But what I get is that almost this physical form that you see now is almost like the skeleton of my soul. And it just kind of comes around me and just sits with me and just is part of and that aura is part of that soul experience. And so with that it's not about shoving that soul into me, because it's expansive. It's greater than, you know, it's greater than anything, because it's love, and love is greater than anything, you know. So it's just navigating through, how do we perceive what we're doing on this earth? And we can't get caught up in labels. You know, we can't get caught up in this, that, or anything, because we have so many different belief systems. And my understanding about belief systems is, do we all speak the same language? No.
No, good.
You know? And so we have different belief systems because we all speak a different language, and we need those different belief systems to kind of funnel us some knowledge into us within reason, you know. And then do we choose that religion as our spirituality, or do we choose the religion as kind of like the stepping stone to our spirituality? And do we put ourselves in a box, or do we expand? And our soul wants to expand. And that's what I'm hoping that these conversations can help, is us expand.
Well, isn't it true, young lady, that on Tuesday night, isn't it true that our souls are really, they're not confined to our body? Because if they were, we could not energetically be in touch with other people and other people's feelings and how they are. It actually is much bigger than what we are as a human in our little body. It's a bigger expanse, and that's how we can touch other people and in an energetic way. And that's how you can do the type of work that you do and stuff. And Regen can do what he does because of the energy that is out there that we want to connect with other people in a positive way.
Yes.
is that your understanding, Regan?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I it's funny, I lost my train of thought for a minute. I got to take one of my memory pills again. Uh, yeah, as we're like, when I talk about having to have an open mind, like Natasha was saying, I think that's the main thing, because I'm a little sensitive in actually doing these shows. I'm a bit sensitive to, because I know some people, when they listen to this, they might listen to it on YouTube 2 years from now or something. And when a person is really closed off and they think they got it all, and they got it all in a little box of what God is and everything, and then somebody comes up with anything different than that, woo. I mean, it's as bad as this, Trump Biden thing, where people just have the that's, they're one side or the other. So I know even me doing this work from relatives and things, they get a little pushback, but I have to say, well, look, I'm just a researcher. I'm just telling you what we're finding out. And it's up to the person to decide, what's there. But I'm just convinced in doing this work, just like Natasha is, we're doing this work. We just see this weekly, with clients and things like that. We see that there's something more than just what we were told when we were just kind of growing up, and what do some people just want to just say no. Well, even the alien thing now, that's been my big thing, is like a lot of people just go, nope, no matter what they hear, what they see, they say there's no way that they say we're the only ones in the whole universe and everything like that. But there's like reams and reams of information now and things that are out there that anybody with a using a logical mind, you look at all these things, and at least you can't say it's impossible. They'd have to say, well, maybe, because there's so much information out there. So we can either be blind and keep our eyes closed, but maybe that's okay. Maybe in this lifetime, maybe we need to be closed-minded because it's going to teach us certain things. So I don't want people to feel like we're saying, hey, we're better than you because we have more information. We're just like everybody else. We're just gaining information, and we're curious about truth, about what's really there. And when you think about it, we've all been programmed, since we were young. Like the thoughts that you have right now about your religion and stuff like that, if you really think about it, those were thoughts that somebody else had that they told you that you decided to accept, because that's all we knew. And they were good meaning people because they were telling us the best they knew how. But somehow the way that we know about the way the subconscious works is when you're a little kid and somebody tells you something and you look up to that person as a mentor or something, you take that in as absolute truth, and it gets logged in your subconscious, and it's hard to jar that loose sometimes once that's cemented in.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and I was years ago, I was thinking about this, and because my family is very much, parts of my family are very much in that this is the only planet, this is it, and God is surrounding with this planet. And then I started hearing about these things called galaxies, and that in a particular galaxy can be a million suns that are just like ours. And then I heard about other galaxies, that there are millions of galaxies that are bigger than the galaxy that we live on. And we are so arrogant that we're going to sit here and say, nope, that's us. We're the only ones. There ain't nobody else around.
Right.
And it's like, that just doesn't hold water. Doesn't make any sense.
Well, didn't Carl Sagan say, he said, if God didn't create people otherwise, he said, what a waste of space, what a waste.
Well, when you think about it, and we were talking about this, when you're on the other side, there are lots and lots of jobs, lots and lots of things, learning how to create, learning how to be a mentor, learning how to work with animals. I mean, there's so many different things that you can do on the other side that you decide that after you get done incarnating here, you can then go there to do more involved work because your understanding is better. But you need to gain the understanding of how to get to there. At least that's my humble opinion.
Yeah, and some spirits, they choose to come on Earth because it's a different physical experience, that we learn different things than maybe we choose to have another lifetime on another planet in a different being, and not every planet has physical form.
Right.
So some aliens, I'm going to just to make it a term that everybody can understand, they're in spirit form of our soul and living there.
Sure.
And you know, and sometimes they go in spaceships and sometimes they don't. You know, and it's just amazing how, you know, we all kind of walk on different things. And like I have this one memory of me falling off of a spaceship watching Earth being made. And I don't remember having any like masks on or anything like that. But yet I fell off space and I ended up, you know, passing away because I fell off the spaceship. But I was sitting on the spaceship fine. So there was something about the bubble that the spaceship gave me. I don't know. I don't tune into that lifetime as well as I do, but there was two things. I remember Earth being made, and I don't like edges anymore because of falling off something like that. You know, I don't mind heights, but I don't like looking over. You know, so you know, you never know where past life can trigger you in this lifetime, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
Have you ever dreamt that you were underwater and could breathe?
Yes. That's the mermaid lifetimes.
And that's your home. And because you can breathe underneath water and stuff, I'm convinced that has a basis in reality.
Yeah.
Many of us have had past lives as mermaids.
Yeah, or just aquatic creatures. Yeah.
Yes.
We've had in some of the cases when the people are in trance and we have them in another life, and that's their oh gosh, I forget. There's so many cases I read, and I get them all intertwined sometimes. But basically, they were trying to look at the body and things like this, but they were in water. But that was like us with air. We don't, you know, it took them a while until they came up, and then when they kind of came up, and one of them saw some land, like had peeked up above the water, and then they realized that was a different place than where they lived or having their life, which was in water. You know, so. I don't know. I just
intelligent life is all throughout the galaxy. It's teeming.
It's everywhere
with an intelligent life.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so many people think that it's crazy thoughts when they have dreams about being a mer person, or if they're were a star person, or even if they, you know, like there's many times where, you know, in spirit, you know, I would travel around at night. I even flew into my mom and dad's bedroom as a kid, you know, so it's like, you know, our spirit flies around even at night and sees crazy things. And so, you know, we gotta have to, sometimes it's kind of like, you know, doing YouTube live where there's the, you know, you got the zoom and then you got the delay, you know, we have to kind of almost tell our minds that we don't have to understand it, but we can understand it. You know, our bodies, our minds, our hearts just kind of know what's truth, where our mind tries to say, or, you know, what we were told as young kids, you know, what we believe in isn't true. And it's like, because there's many of us as kids that we have memories of past lives.
Sure.
And our parents start saying, that's not true. Where is that coming from? That was a dream, you know?
Yeah.
It wasn't. It was remembered, and that's where it's sad. There's so many intuitive people that were shut down as young kids because they were told, don't believe it.
Right.
My 2-year-old son said to his mom when she was mad at him one time, she said, you know, when I was the mom, because he believed that he was her mom at one point.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, if we get, you know, from time to time, maybe some of the shows will mention stuff, and because we don't know if this is the first or only time people will see this too, that brings up that whole subject about kids who remember past lives. And again, let me mention that because hypnosis, you know, some people say, well, some people remember past life, but they were in a trance and they were suggestible and their mind just made it up. Well, the study that the University of Virginia has been doing for 40 years has been on children who remember past lives, and then they follow up with the information the kids say and try to prove and find that what they said was true. And they have over 2,500 cases now there where they've been able to interview the child and then find in newspaper articles or something, or go way back, or some of them that reincarnated pretty quickly. Some of the people in their old lifetime were still alive in this lifetime. and the kid was able to go like to the house and say, this was my bedroom, this is my uncle so-and-so, whatever, you know. So people can look that up if you just go to, well, anything by Ian Stevenson. You know, he wrote these books on children who remember past lives. And it talks about his trips around the world. And then there's another gentleman now, I should get his name, but he's got a great video on YouTube that you might be able to find. It's on there. And he's about all the current cases they're finding out. So, and these are kids aren't in hypnosis. They just say, Daddy or Mommy, I was in another lifetime. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the thing that about being the human experience that I've witnessed is that there's a short time of when somebody's born that they're kind of like in no man's land. They kind of float between spirit realm and memories of past and moving forward, and then kind of life or reality kind of hits, and then there's that kind of I would say almost 6 months before somebody passes, that there's that kind of, the wall really starts thinning and they become elusive into walking in and out of this world. You know, their spirit kind of starts going away. And like you've mentioned, Kevin, that, you know, your brother's in this realm and he's probably more out getting, you know, guidance on how to transition than he is, you know, here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he ain't listening.
And
No.
Kev, yeah, what's the latest with your brother, Kevin? What's he, how's he hanging in there?
Well, they for those of you that are listening, my brother was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer, and the oncologist said, I think it's time for hospice, and my brother, of course, said, hell no, it's not time. I'm not going anywhere. And so they got hospice involved, and then they got a cancer care thing over here involved, but they were looking for somebody that was not nearly as advanced as he is. And so they said, you know, hospice would be a great place for you. So now he's in that process. And, you know, I was thinking about this. I would love to get your guys' opinion. When you're in that process, when you know, well, first of all, we all know we're going to die. It's just a question of how and a question of when.
And when.
But in his mind, he knows he's going to die, and he knows how, and he has a rough idea when. How do you think you would handle that, knowing what you know about the afterlife? How would you process that?
I had to process that about 4 years ago. I'd helped a hypnotherapy client who was an elderly man, and he needed to go to a retirement facility, but he needed to sell his house. So I volunteered to help him paint the front of his house so that, because he didn't have the money and stuff like this. So here I'm out in 100-something degree weather, and I haven't been doing this, you know, painting forever. And anyway, I got sick that night. I was sleeping, and I started getting the shivers, and I thought I'd caught like a cold or something, or got heat stroke, you know. And my girlfriend at the time, who I'm actually with now, a wonderful human being, Patty, she, for a birthday present, she was taking me Hawaii. So I went from LA, I just met her there, we got on a plane, and I'm thinking, well, I'm just heat stroke, I'm gonna be okay, I'm gonna get over it. We land in Hawaii, and I'm so bad that she makes me go to emergency room. We go in the emergency room, they take an x-ray of my lungs, and they go, whoa, we think you have lung cancer. So they flew me. They got me on a plane. They flew me from one island to another. I ended up being in hospital for a month in Hawaii. And it took them 2 weeks to find out what it actually was. But during that time, everybody thought I had at least stage 4 or something. Like my lungs look like I'm gonna be dead, you know. So I'm laying there. I had to go through the same thing your brother's going through. And it was the weirdest thing, but I was okay with it, knowing what I know. I just was saying, hey, if this is, you know, I kind of don't want to go because I'm just kind of getting the hang of things here, and it's kind of, life's becoming fun, even with problems, it's becoming a fun place. But I was somehow I was at peace with it. And when I finally got out after a month and I lived through the thing, they found out it was valley fever, which is in California. There's just a few places in the world you can get this thing called valley fever. They have a name that's like this long, you know, what it's called. I never know what it is, but valley fever for short. It's a spore that's buried in the earth. And when it dries out and wind comes up, it comes up and gets in the air. And if you're just driving down the freeway and you breathe in one little spore of it, and it gets in your lungs, and it's kind of like COVID a little bit, where it just messes with your lungs, and the mortality rate with people over 60 was pretty high. So anyway, they fixed me and I got out of there. So at the end, I thought, okay, let me just be honest with myself. So I'm going to write down the negative things and the positive things about me having to almost dying and be in the hospital for a month. And I came up with 42 good things and one bad thing, you know.
What was the bad thing?
The food. I did not even want to eat the next meal they were going to give me. It just was horrible. Yeah. And I thought, here they are in a hospital to heal, and it's all this processed junk, awful taste and stuff, you know. But it was okay. But that's because of my belief system. I think it's like, okay, if it's time to go, it's time to go. And you kind of go, oh, shucks. You know, like I kind of want to stay here a while, you know. But at the same time, part of you says, I know if I die, it's going to be okay. And it's going to be what's supposed to be, and it's going to be my time.
Natasha?
You know?
Well, you know, I've watched many people pass, and like my father, he had a very enlightened spirit life walking. I always said he had one foot in this world and one in the other world, you know, the spirit world. And he didn't want to leave us behind, but he was kind of okay leaving his body behind. You know, he didn't want to leave his relationships behind. And then my mother of heart, she came into my life after my mom passed, and she was in my life for 20 years, and she ended up being kind of my mother. So I called her my mother of heart. And every time she got ill, I'm leaving. I want to go. I'm leaving. Well, about the age of 81, she decided that it was her time. And she went very, I would say gracefully, for having her body go from a walking state of a basic healthy woman to not breathing. And it took her about a 3-month process to go through it, because our physical bodies have this one something in the brain that says breathe and blink and the heart beats. You know what I mean? It's like there's the primal thing that tells us to breathe and that kind of stuff. And she had to coax her body. Her spirit wanted to leave, but she had to coax her body into leaving. And she did it, and it was graceful for her in that sense. It was still troublesome in its own rights, but you know, she went peacefully. And you know, she would tell me that, you know, the last 3 weeks of her life that she wasn't here. She was having conversations with loved ones. She was having conversation with guides. She was having conversations with everybody. She says, I've learned more about my life in the last 3 weeks in this bed than I have for my whole life. You know, it's because she had that knowing in her spirit. And it was interesting to watch, you know, her go compared to, you know, the people who weren't quite as spiritual and not quite as wisdom. And then watching my animals go, you know, they're very spiritual based, and they left quicker than anybody because they just kind of said, I'm done.
No, they get it.
They get it.
They get it. Go ahead.
You know, I heard this.
They did it.
I heard the story again that I'd read about Sam Kinison, the comedian, when he died. And I always thought that was interesting. But I heard that years ago. That's before I was doing any of this work, and it really makes sense now. But I guess he was driving his Corvette at a high rate of speed in Nevada or something. He crashed, and he must have had a follow-up car or something with friends or something, because it seemed like it was someone that knew him that was holding him when he died. And first he was going, I don't want to die, I don't want to die, I want to die. And then at one point he got peaceful. It was like he was looking and like talking to people that they couldn't see. Mm-hmm. And then he said to his friend that was holding him, he says, it's okay, I'm ready to go. And then he died, you know. So, but I guess I've had so many people in the cases I've read and my clients that I've had, that when they die in other lifetimes and they get to the other side, the majority of them almost immediately are like totally okay with it. Like, oh man, I'm done. Good, thanks. Oh my gosh, what was that? Some of them are still emotionally connected to that life for a little bit. and it takes them a little transition before they're okay, but just a little time where they're kind of like, oh, I wish I could have, and then they like, wow, and then they transition into their real self, and they're totally okay. So I know that'll be me, get over there, and I'm like, oh shucks, I wish I could have been on this this webinar thing with Natasha and Kevin again, but I had to check out and
cancel, clear, delete that.
Yeah.
We'll you around for a while.
Yeah, cancel, clear, delete.
Time to go. Yeah, because I'm older. See, I'm older than both of you. I'm in my 70s. So, I'm looking and I think, well, realistically, even if I take good care of myself, maybe I'll get to my 90s or something, like my mom did. And although, interestingly so, I went to a webinar in Marin on a TED Talk. It was a TEDx talk, I guess. And they had people on the panel that were from the different places that are in the know about what's going on health-wise with people in the world. And they said that like my grandchildren's children should easily live to be 110 or 120 with all of the technology that we have going now. So, we're getting there. Where people what in the old time would live 40 or 50 years old, and now we're complaining because we only live to 80 or 90. And
yeah, but there's this other thing. My mother, who's in her 80s, and I went to Red Lobster one time, and as we're walking into the restaurant, there was this van from a retirement home, and we said, "Oh, there's somebody's having a good time," and so we walked in and we sat next to this large table of 16 people. There were 14 women and 2 guys. Then the women were laughing and carrying on and having a good time. The guys were in walkers. They didn't look like they were mentally there anymore. It's like, okay, you girls, you have this life as long as you want it. But when I get to that point, I've told my kids, we have a signal. When I get to that point, they're supposed to take me to the Aurora Bridge in my wheelchair and throw me off. And,
yeah.
But I would like to talk about that, though, that women have been taught it's okay to cry. It's okay to be emotional. Men from past experiences of past, generations have been shut down. And when we carry that much pain and ache in our bodies pain and ache. And with that, I'm hoping that the men of today's world, especially the youngers, that they've learned that they can be emotional. Like I grew up, my children, I have one who's transgendered into a woman now, that when they were younger, I would say, society may not want you to cry, in school, and they may make fun of you. So you may choose not to want to cry then. But I want you to know that anytime you want to come home and let it loose, come home and let it loose.
That's not manly. You're not allowed to do that. Come on. What's the matter with you?
Yeah. Well, I published this in some of my books about I used to have anger management issues all the way up till my early 40s. Me. I know. Don't I look like I got angry? People say that all the time. They go, I know I am. Well, I am now, but I didn't used to be. I mean, I never was like a cruel person, like a cruel, evil guy would come home and just beat his wife or something. But when I couldn't handle this, what we call fatal peril, it's like when you feel like, like this, I would yell and throw things, break things and stuff and scream because I didn't know any better. I just thought that's what people do, Anyway, when I finally saw the collateral damage it did when my 11-year-old stepdaughter was crying for 2 days because of hearing my wife and I argue over something, and then my wife told me that I was coming down the stairs and my 11-year-old was going up past me and she was crying, and I asked my mom, I said, well, what's going on? She got made fun of at school a lot, and I said, they bother her at school again? And she says, no, it's because of that argument we had the other night. And oh God, I felt like a sledgehammer hit me in the gut. And I realized that I was my yelling and screaming caused this 11-year-old to be crying for 2 days, So here's spirit working again now. Natasha, you're gonna like this. My wife was in an adult education class. She was in a class about health. I forget what her class was, but anyway, the person next to her could see she was a little worried about something, and she confided in her. And the woman says, wow, my boyfriend used to have anger issues too. He went to this thing called Man Alive in Sacramento, and he said he just totally turned him around. So she came home and she said, Regan, would you be willing to take this thing? And of course, you know, sucking in my ego and all that kind of thing, like a man doesn't need anything. I said, okay. So I signed myself in. I get in there that night. There's a circle of 21 guys. Some of them got tattoos on, the gangbangers, things like this. A guy that was right next to me looked kind of normal. He ended up being a highway patrolman, and he volunteered to be in the class by himself. So did I. Everybody else was court ordered into this anger management thing. But
yeah, court order, that
yeah.
saved my marriage. That court order, my husband being caught being drunk driving.
But
you know?
yeah, my ego got in the way, and I'm sitting, I'm looking at these other people, and I'm going, I'm not like these guys. I'm not a gangbanger. I'm a good guy. But then when they went over on the drawing board of how they've learned how our mind works, how like we think we have buttons that get pushed, but actually we in an instant we decide to do violence. And they teach you how to slow it down by teaching you an anchor that when you feel like, oh, like this, you teach your mind that's about when you're about ready to blow. And because you're a good person, you don't want to hurt people you love, knowing and all of a sudden going, oh, I'm about ready to blow, and having that little extra second or two, then you decide to deal with your feelings and to not go there. You know, and it worked like magic, although it took a little time. But the reason I brought this up is because in there, one of the problems that men have anger issues is because of all this stuffed emotion that they have of, you know, boys got to have blue blankets, girls have pink, guys can't show their emotions and that. And when guys would say, well, I can't do that, that's not what a real man is, and the teacher would say, how's that working for you? You know, and that really, is that making your happy life because you can't express your emotions, you can't express your wants and needs and your feeling. So in the class, I took it for 3 years. Every Thursday night, 3 hours, I went through the same thing. And over that time, everybody in my life got nicer. And it's funny, I saw the bumper sticker one day and it said, boy, how you've changed since I've changed, you know.
Yes.
And I got the respect back of my family and that. And so I've had, keep track, I've had 2 incidences that I don't like that happened in the last 26 years. They had, and one was when I was being attacked by someone that was bipolar, that was off their meds, and I got angry and responded in a way that wasn't me, you know, that I wasn't me anymore. And to this day, when I think of that, I feel sad inside. But that's how much you know. So people out there listening to this, I mean, we're down here to learn, and that to me, that's one of my life's lessons down here, is to learn how to deal with emotion, to learn that men need to be able to express their feelings. You know, this society that said that, and macho is not always a good thing. You know, you need to be like they say the samurai. The samurai, when they would go into battle, they went in with their emotions intact, and they did not fight with anger or revenge or anything like that. I mean, a good samurai went in with love and went in. He needs to protect his village, but he's going to go and just do his job, you know, and not get all involved in the into hate and the emotion and that. They said otherwise you're going to get yourself killed, you know, if you go in that way, you know. So anyway, that's, you know, men out there, you gotta learn to, it's okay to cry. And this thing is still have it. Well, it's only available in Sacramento right now. If anybody has in Sacramento, it's called Man Alive. And they still have a program going on there. This is 20-something years later. And I hear it's evolved into being even better because there's a saying once an abuser, always an abuser. And that can be true if a guy isn't willing to change, you know, because you got to change the wiring in your subconscious to act differently than you've been acting your whole life, you know. So you can change.
I've never understood the concept of hitting a woman. Doesn't seem to fit my I've never have been able to figure that out. Why? But I suppose I've lost my temper. I think I can count 5 or 6 times in my life where I've really lost my temper. Other than that, it doesn't compute for me. Now, is that because Natasha, and this is for you, is that because that's at our soul level? Or is that a combination of our soul and our brain? How does it work that some people, like me, never get really upset, and some people can't survive a day without it.
Well, I think it's kind of like this is going to reach into other conversations, but it's kind of like a hand. You know, we have the astrology. We're made up of different planets. Like my husband's a Leo. I'm a Cancer. You know, I don't like that word Cancer because it's one of my lessons is navigating that because I've had too many family members die of it. So I'm kind of like cancel color, delete that. So with that there's that star person, the star part of us. And then there's the soul body that has to learn these experiences. And then there's the makeup of our parents' life journeys, that kind of thing. And, and this particular finger is not necessarily meant to be that, but sometimes we got to say that to certain family members or family lessons.
You're number one.
And then we have, this knowings of ourselves, and then, we have this, but it all makes who we are. But there's a lot of people who believe in, like you were saying earlier, that what we're told as kids, we believe it. And, we have choices along the way. If we grow up in an abusive family and we have that anger management, we don't have the skills to learn anger management, we're going to grow up more angry. And like for my husband, who started drinking when he was 14, 12, 14, somewhere in there. And I would say that a lot of people who have addictions, they have this kind of a emotional attachment. It's an energy, and it's called addiction. And that addiction carries anger, frustration, lack of acceptance, judgment. It has anything and everything that it's about the I am important, and if it doesn't go my way, I'm going to be angry about it. And it is called addiction. And some of us have addiction even to anger. Some of us have an addiction to food. Some of us have an addiction to, a drug. It doesn't have to be labeled as anything, but it still has that other identity to it that is anger. And I can say that's one thing that before my husband stopped drinking, or before he stopped drinking, he was angry. He was disappointed. He was frustrated. There's a couple of times when he was really frustrated with my kids, and I took the stick out of his hand, because I was like, you're not going to hit my kids, and he to this day can't believe he would go there.
Yeah.
He just can't, because he's now, this month is our 8th year celebration of him being sober. And that anger in him, he still has frustration, but it's not that reactionary, impulsive anger anymore, and he's kind of taken that to the side and started learning to accept life. Yeah. And he can control it. And that's the difference, I think, with a lot of people, that they don't realize what is really attached to them from what they've learned. And that is, I know that we're not going in talking about past lives and that kind of stuff, but that's part of what we're in this life to do, is to learn how to be, capital B-E. We're not necessarily supposed to learn to be human. We're supposed to learn to be. And it's not an easy walk to do that, because we have all this, I'm going to call it the SHIT stuff in our brains, that gums us up.
That's right. I thought you were going to say God didn't mean us to be a dick.
He actually didn't. The presence, the spirit of what we choose to call God does not intend us to be this way. Yet sometimes, because we're human, we have experiences that are not in control of spirit.
Yeah.
We have that free choice. It's called reaction. And if our parents, when we were 3 years old, hit us because they were so freaking angry and slammed us into a closet and locked us in, That was reactionary. That was not spirit allowing that. Now, the angel that chose to come and sit in the closet with you and hug you was spirit saying, we'll help you survive.
Yeah.
So then,
And many people don't understand that there was an angel with them, but there was.
so ladies and gentlemen, I do have a question for you, and that is, our souls come down here to learn. We inhabit a body that we picked on our way back. And we, by the way, we didn't talk a great deal about what we were supposed to be doing on the other side. We kind of got sidetracked. But that's the cool thing. That's the cool thing about this is we get to do this again and again. And by the way, for those that are listening, at 4:00 on Mondays, we'll be doing more Life Between Lives sessions with both Regen and Natasha. But I wanted to ask both of you that our souls have come here with an agenda. They come here with an idea of what they want to get done. What is it that prevents us from following their agenda?
Life.
Oh.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I hear when and these different cases that I'm talking about. It's like when they're in heaven, as you say, and they decide to come down, they go, I'm going to learn this. They decide how much of their soul energy they're going to put into the body. That's why there's always part of us in heaven, like we kind of split ourselves up, which is why when I have people in trance, they actually merge with their higher self, and then they become like Solomon. It's amazing what they can say or know or whatever. But what they say sometimes, they go, oh yeah, I'm going to go down to earth, I'm going to learn this. They get down in the physical body, and then all of a sudden they go on, what the? Oh my God, I bit off a little more than I could chew here. And they realize just how difficult it is in this human body and in the earth world. And as they say, as you probably hear us say over and over again many times, that souls on the other side say, this is pretty much the one of the hardest places to come and learn stuff, because you get bombarded with emotional stuff and physical stuff at the same time rather than one at a time. And the souls come down here and they think it's going to be easy, but they get sidetracked. They get seduced by too much pleasure and not getting their work done. This is a hard thing. So people that listen out there, don't feel bad about yourself if you have issues, you have problems and things like this, because even the fact that you're listening to the show is going to get you a little closer to what you want to do. It's going to go make you think about, why am I really here? Well, just do stuff that's loving in your life, and you're going to get close to probably, doing what your mission is, or you may already be in your mission. You just don't even know it. Because sometimes a mission could be as simple as you're going to bring this one soul into the world as your son or daughter, and you're going to be their mentor to teach them how to be loving and kind. That may be your whole goal. It may be simple. It's not always like a Martin Luther King or a Gandhi or something big like that. A lot of times it's simple things. I remember I think I sent when I was talking to Kevin one time, one of the sessions that a therapist had, that she asked the lady, well, what did you come to earth to learn? And she said, patience. And he says, how long have you been learning how to get patience? She said, earth years, about 500 years, And
I still ain't got it yet.
No. So you just gotta chill. You gotta laugh. You gotta love your life and the people around you, and just be a good person. You don't have to worry about all this spiritual stuff if you don't want to. Just here you are. You might as well make the best of it and be as good and nice of a person as you can.
Yeah, but I want
and a lot of people, I'm gonna help out some people here, because I know, like, watching my husband figure out what love was. He didn't know what love was, but he knew about being kind. And I know that when he started figuring out how to be kind, love followed suit.
Yeah.
And so if somebody's having just a hard time, it's called being kind. And when we practice that, practice makes better. That's one of my mantras, is practice makes better. And when we can do that, it does help us navigate through, because in my sessions that I do, helping people walk through life, that when some of them say, what is my purpose here? And I go, for one, I just want you to start being kind to yourself, start being kind to others. And I said, pretty soon, when you start walking that path of just being, being more interactionary instead of reactionary, you're going to start finding life is going to start telling you where to go. And that's part of your purpose, is to be the person you're supposed to be, which is kindness, which is being the love. And if that brings it out to where, you're supposed to be on YouTube and helping people, or if you're just supposed to be a cash register person at a supermarket and just being the better person you can be to help people smile, it doesn't matter where you do it, it's how you do it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's very, very well said. Very well said. Well, we've come to the end of our time together.
Oh, no.
It's amazing, isn't it? So let's run through, Regen, if somebody wants to contact you to talk about hypnotherapy and all the other things that you do, teach them how to be a ventriloquist or something like that, how do they get a hold of you?
Well, visittheafterlife.com is my website. Also, lifecoachcentral.expert. If you're listening to this and the spiritual stuff just has you too spooked out, then if you go to the traditional therapy site, it's lifecoachcentral.expert. It's not .com, .expert. And you can see all the good modalities that help you with your regular problems and issues you have. I'm in California, and I have an office in Los Angeles that I see people, one in Sacramento, one in the Bay Area around San Francisco. So if you need help, just go to the website and you can get a hold of me there. Phone number, everything's there. And just to let you know that it's so easy if you want to visit the afterlife, take a little 2-hour or 3-hour visit to where you go in between lives. And that's what we want to motivate people to know, that that's possible. You just get really comfortable. I get you really relaxed. And there seems to be a switch that most people have, that you can just flip the switch and there you go to a past life. And then there you go to where you go between lives. And it's life changing. It gives you this bigger perspective right off the bat. You're not alone. There's always somebody watching you and helping you. And you'll feel love like you've never felt before. So love to help you if you want to do that.
Thank you, sir. And Natasha, you got an announcement to make too.
Yes, I do. Thank you, Kevin. So what it is that I am at angelicclarifications.com, and I love to help people work through life. I'm one that, if you haven't noticed, I kind of have had a life experience of looking at emotions, grief, and many other avenues of that. And I love to support people navigating through a different understanding of how to be human. So with that, and I also do my mediumship. So if you're looking at helping someone, if you want to have help communicating with a loved one, or if you are wanting to find out a past life, because many past lives do trigger us in this lifetime. And I work well in the Akashic Records, as it's called. And also too, if you would like, on Wednesdays, Kevin and I are going to be doing life clarifications. And we're going to be having a lot of conversations, stemming around what we talked about today, or many other conversations. And it's going to be a wonderful dance of being able to take comments and questions and just be in that process. So if you would like to have a session with me, you can catch me at Natasha at angelicclarifications.com.
Oh, and can I mention one more thing? If you're out of California, go to the Newton Institute. I think it's .org. Oh gosh, I should know, huh? But if you just type in Newton Institute, you'll get there. And there's a list of therapists in 40 countries that can help you have this wonderful life between life experience. So that's it.
So there you go. And all I do is find people like you and put them on the radio. That's what I do. And if you'd like to find out more about me and what I do, you can go to My Independence Report, the podcast, and just type in My Independence Report. We're on the front page. We're big time now. So we do that. And given that, it's great fun having you guys here. And I look forward to next Monday as well. And Monday at 4:00, and it's going to be live again. So I know we've had some folks listen and come in and come out and stuff, but it's been fun, and it's going to grow. and it'll be a lot of fun. So Natasha, any last words before we kick it off?
So I would just ask that through the transitions of worry, anxiety, and reactions, that we just be kind. Be kind to the one that's looking in the mirror. Be kind to the one that's looking at us, who are in our houses, and do the better that we can. And please put the punishing stick down, because we are human, having an experience. And many times if we are angry, like, Regen was saying that he got angry with the person who was schizophrenic and off his meds, sometimes we have to meet. Sometimes I had to be angry with my husband to stop him from being angry at me, but sometimes I had to walk out the door, and let him be angry by himself. And that's where I'm hoping to help people work through that. So just be kind. That's the easiest way to start a new path, is just being kind.
Yeah. And Kevin, here's just a quick thing. If you don't know where to start, just start. And do little acts of random kind, even if it's picking up a piece of trash that's not yours and putting it in a can. We found out through the study of the mind how the subconscious works, that you can actually fake it till you make it. Like when your subconscious sees you constantly doing these little things, even though in your mind you're going, what am I picking up someone's trash for? It's not my stuff. But just do it. And then after a while, your subconscious seeing you do these things, and it gets on board, and then you'll find yourself doing these things, not even thinking about it. And then you'll realize that you've kind of reprogrammed yourself to just be kind, to do random acts of kindness without even thinking about it. And that's when you know you're getting somewhere.
Absolutely. That's a great thing to say, sir.
Mm-hmm.
When I was driving a bus, one time the guy just dropped a can right there in front of the bus and stuff, and I stopped. He got on the bus, sat down, and I just stopped the bus and went and got the thing and put it in the garbage can and got back on the bus and drove some. Nobody said a word. Nobody said, I'm late now, because everybody knew what I was doing, and that was fun. So just be kind. And remember, when you say something nice to someone, when you smile at someone, even through your mask, that may be the only smile that person has experienced all day.
Yeah. Good thought, Kevin.
If you can just do that, you will live your life, and it will change in a great big way. And with that, take care of each other. Take care of yourselves. Hey, and thanks for listening to this episode all the way to the end. Hey, pretty cool. Hey, don't forget to follow us so you can receive regular updates and new posts. And remember, take care of each other, because each other is all we've got. See you next time on My Independence Report.